At a prestigious university in Bangkok, Thailand, a terrifying zombie outbreak suddenly erupts. As more and more students get infected, the entire campus descends into chaos. A small group of survivors forms, desperate to escape, but every exit is already blocked by hordes of the undead. With nowhere else to run, they barricade themselves inside a locked classroom, clinging to what little hope they have left. One of the students, Kenjana, hurriedly calls her professor. Her mother has been bedridden and unconscious for over 6 months. There's no way she can evacuate. With her voice trembling, Kenjana begs her professor, who's outside the campus, to look after her mother. But before she can say more, the zombies outside start violently pounding on the doors and windows. Kenjana has no choice but to hang up the phone. Just then, a breaking news alert flashes across the classroom TV. Bangkok has officially declared a state of emergency. And the source of the outbreak? None other than Kenjana's university. The professor watching the broadcast frowns deeply. He slowly walks into his bedroom, opens a metal box filled with strange-looking medicine, and glances over at Kenjana's mother, lost in uneasy thought. Meanwhile, another group of survivors is hunkered down in a different classroom, doing everything they can to reinforce the doors. Among them is a calm and level-headed girl named Preo, who bluntly states the obvious: this place won't hold forever. Just then, someone spots the balcony outside and suggests they all move out there to buy some time. From the courtyard below, distant screams echo through the campus, sending chills through everyone's bones. Peering across to the opposite building, Nan notices a group of students also clinging to a balcony edge, and among them is a familiar face. He immediately calls out. It's his sister, Kenjana, trapped on the other side. Neither of them expected the other to still be alive. Before they can process it, a student from above slips and falls right in front of them, sending the entire group into a panic. After a tense moment, BAS takes Kenjana's phone and offers a plan: make a run for the library. It's currently under renovation, no classes, no crowds, and most importantly, fewer zombies. Both groups agree it's their best shot. But there's a problem. The library is further away than it looks. To get there, they'll need to sneak through open walkways, dodge stray zombies, and move slowly to avoid drawing attention. Ning, the long-haired girl, keeps trying to call her dad outside the campus, worried something might have happened to him. Preo, ever the pragmatist, snatches the phone right out of her hand. You trying to get us all killed calling someone right now? But soon they realize it doesn't even matter anymore. The zombies have completely surrounded the building. There's no way they're climbing over this balcony now. That's when San reaches into his backpack and pulls out a Bluetooth speaker. He suggests placing it in a nearby building to lure the zombies away with sound. It's risky, sure, but everyone agrees it's their only shot. But then comes the question, who's gonna go? A heavy silence fills the air. Everyone avoids eye contact, heads bowed in embarrassment. Preo sighs and rolls her eyes. Fine, if none of you guys are gonna do it, I'll go. The boys freeze in shame as they watch her carefully cradle the speaker and inch along the edge of the wall toward the far building. The group holds their breath, fists clenched in pure tension. Everyone's on edge, except Lily, who pulls out her phone and reads the latest update from the authorities. A government message says that due to the outbreak being completely out of control, they're shutting off the water, electricity, and all communication in the infected zones. People can't help but explode with frustration. What? They're just gonna abandon us now. Meanwhile, Preo had already made it to the center of the school building's main hall. She figured this spot was far enough. It should be more than enough to lure the zombies away. She carefully placed the speaker on the floor. But the moment she hit the power button, a loud startup tone blasted out of it. Preo nearly collapsed from fright. She glanced around in terror. Luckily, nothing seemed to react. She finally let out a shaky sigh of relief, when suddenly, a zombie appeared on the second-floor balcony. While chaos was unfolding on Preo's end, things were going much more smoothly for Kenjana's group. Other than Kim twisting her ankle by accident, everyone else was in high spirits. They'd already figured out how these zombies work. The creatures aren't just drawn to sound, they also love gathering near light sources. So as long as Kenjana and the others stayed away from street lights and moved through the shadows, they'd usually go unnoticed. But Kim's injury was slowing everyone down, and the noise she made finally caught the zombies' attention. The group instantly froze, not even daring to breathe. Back in the building, Preo checked again. The zombie upstairs still hadn't spotted her. She wiped the cold sweat from her forehead, then bolted back to the balcony to rejoin her friends. Sen had been waiting for this moment. She immediately pulled out her phone and hit play. The Bluetooth speaker erupted with a deafening blast of noise. Instantly, the sound of countless zombie footsteps thundered through the air. The creatures swarmed toward the speaker like sharks smelling blood. Now it wasn't just Preo's group that could breathe a little easier. Even Kenjana's team got a lucky break. Both groups started making a run for the library, but Kim just couldn't go on. Nokia crouched down to carry her on his back. Suddenly, a drop of blood landed from above. To their horror, a zombie was hanging from the tree. Nokia sprinted with Kim on his back, but no matter how hard he pushed himself, he just couldn't move fast enough. The zombie dropped from the branches and tackled them both. Just as Kim was about to be done for, Nokia kicked the creature off. But the very next second, the zombie clawed back up and sank its teeth into Kim's leg. And now the noise had drawn even more zombies their way. Panicking, the boys rushed back to drag away the devastated Nokia, leaving the ponytailed girl all alone to face the oncoming horde. Swallowing their grief, the rest of the group had no choice but to flee into the library, just in time to regroup with Preo and the others. Kenjana and her brother finally reunited, and the two couldn't help but share a moment of emotional relief. Meanwhile, the rest of the boys got to work barricading the front entrance. Turns out BAS was right. There really weren't any zombies here. This place was, for now, the perfect safe haven. But long-haired Ning was still glued to her phone, trying to call her dad. This time, not even a single bar of signal. San reminded everyone, remember the official warning? They weren't just cutting phone service, they were shutting off water and electricity, too. A heavy silence fell over the group. This was turning into a full-on end-of-the-world survival scenario. Rich Kid Earth spoke up first, insisting they needed to find a way out of here. Without water or power, they weren't going to last long. But BAS quickly shut that down. Leaving now would just be a faster way to die. Their only shot was to reach out for help and wait for a rescue. That's when Chi stepped forward, holding an old radio he found, most likely left behind by the renovation crew. A broadcast was looping through the static. The entire area around the university had been sealed off by the military. And at 8:30 tonight, they were cutting off power and water completely. The message urged any survivors to head for higher ground. Military helicopters would be coming in the daylight to rescue anyone who wasn't infected. The group was filled with confusion. From what the broadcast implied, their school seemed to be ground zero for the virus, but none of them had noticed a thing before this. Earth suddenly had an idea, the parking lot on the library rooftop. They could head there and wait for the rescue chopper. But Kenjana had a different priority. She wanted to spread the word. Let every survivor know about the evacuation plan. Earth immediately shot that down. Telling everyone would just complicate things. But BAS? BAS was all in on Kenjana's idea. Preo watched the two guys bicker, totally unimpressed. She coldly reminded the group. In every zombie movie, the moment someone does something stupid, the side characters are always the first to die. Her comment cut deep. It offended just about everyone there. But Kenjana didn't care. She marched straight to the second-floor broadcast room. And as soon as she powered up the speakers, her voice echoed across the abandoned halls of the campus. She relayed every word from the radio, urging everyone to head for the rooftop and wait for the helicopter. Kenjana was about to say more, but BAS hurried in and shut her down. He knew the more attention they drew, the worse things could get. But Kenjana wasn't done. Before he could stop her, she added one last thing. Anyone looking for safety should come to the library. It was the most secure place on campus. And that's when the lights cut out. Total blackout. The water and power shutdown had officially begun. Suddenly, all the zombies that had been drawn to the light scattered, melting back into the darkness. Meanwhile, across the campus, the few remaining survivors, hiding in corners, clinging to life, turned their eyes toward the library. And in their eyes, nothing but wild, desperate hunger. Then something even darker happened. Kim, the girl who'd fallen earlier, suddenly opened her lifeless eyes. Bloodless, empty, she struggled to her feet and began staggering forward, joining the slow, creeping march of the undead. Back inside the library, Ning was still obsessively trying to call her father, even though the signal was long gone. At this point, every dial tone was just another jab to her sanity. Sin tried comforting her, but Ning lashed out instead. Her dad was a food vendor who ran a stall right outside the school gate. He could barely walk, and he hadn't answered a single call all day. She was convinced something terrible had happened. Preo finally had enough. She straight up told Ning, "If you care about him that much, go find him yourself." That nearly set off a brawl. Sin immediately stepped in, ready to defend Ning. And if the others hadn't intervened, the two girls might have thrown down right there in the dark. Then BAS stepped in. Quiet, steady BAS. He gently pulled Ning aside. Just a few soft words, and she was already calming down. That tenderness didn't go unnoticed. Kenjana's eyes drifted towards them, more than once. But someone else noticed too. Earth. He sat off to the side, silently seething. Just then, Nan came bursting into the lobby, frantic, motioning everyone toward the window. Through the green haze of a night vision camera, the group caught sight of something bizarre. The zombies were all moving in the same direction, like they'd agreed on it. Perfectly in sync. The group stared in disbelief. Something felt off. These weren't the mindless, instinct-driven zombies they'd seen in movies. These things almost looked coordinated, like they were sharing emotions, or communicating in some way. Kenjana shut it down. It doesn't matter how they work. What matters is we're still alive. We need rest. Tomorrow we move to the rooftop and wait for evac. Everyone nodded fast, but even with the lights on and exhaustion crushing them, barely anyone could sleep, thinking about the darkness outside and everything trapped inside with them. Eventually, sunlight crept in. Earth stood up, voice steady. All right, time's up. Split up and grab anything we can use as a weapon. Meet back here at 7 sharp. We move for the rooftop, together. Everyone scattered, but just before BAS walked off, Earth stopped him. Stay away from Kenjana. Ba instantly took it as a threat, but Earth just smirked. You think you know her? You don't know a thing. Turns out Kenjana had already made a deal with her professor. They were secretly working on some kind of project together, one that just happened to be connected to her mother's strange illness. Meanwhile, the rest of the survivors had already fanned out across the library, each searching for anything that could be used as a weapon. Preo got lucky. She cracked open a dusty toolbox and grinned. Jackpot, she shouted over her shoulder, waving the others over. But she wasn't celebrating. His eyes were locked on something outside the window, and he wasn't the only one. More of them had noticed the same thing. They'd blocked every entrance. Every door was sealed tight. So how were the zombies still getting in? The group took the long way around the hall, and that's when they saw it. A zombie mopping the floor. Suddenly it all made sense. These weren't just random zombies. They were employees. They still had their workplace keycards. Getting in through the staff entrance wasn't a challenge at all. Their path forward was screwed. Every hallway clogged with diligent, undead office workers. On the other side of the building, San decided to cut her losses and go out a window. That's when Ning's phone alarm went off. And unstoppable, her touchscreen was too shattered to turn it off. Within seconds, the zombies turned. Sin dove out the window, but she didn't make it far before she was taken down. As for Ning, she still wouldn't ditch the phone. A swarm of zombies was now on her heels. She looped around a corner, jumped out a window, only to spot San again, but this time with her throat ripped open. Shrieking, Ning bolted straight into Kenjana and the others. Now the real nightmare begins. Because with walking disaster Ning tagging along, will any of them actually make it to the rooftop alive? Want to find out? Then make sure to stick around. Until next time, see you in the next recap.